Sir, step away from the vehicle, now.
I'm on my own property. My hands are empty.
You match a burglary suspect. Do not argue with me.
Then name the crime, or lower your voice.
I don't need permission to detain you.
Yes, you do. And this moment will follow you forever.
The scream shattered the peace of a perfect Saturday afternoon. Marcus Thorne didn't flinch. He didn't drop the hose in a panic, and he didn't raise his hands in a way that suggested guilt. Instead, he slowly set the nozzle down on the concrete driveway, ensuring the water flow was cut off, and turned to face the voice with the deliberate, terrifying calmness of a man who had stared down death in the Hindu Kush and the Euphrates River Valley. "I'm standing right here," Marcus said, his voice a low rumble steady as a heartbeat. "My hands are empty. I am not a threat. I said get your hands up, step away from the car." Officer Kyle Braden was vibrating with adrenaline. He was 27 years old, 5 years on the force, and he held his service weapon at the low ready, his finger indexing the frame but itching to slide into the trigger guard. He saw a threat. He saw a large black man in a tank top and cargo shorts standing next to a pristine cherry-red 1969 Chevelle SS in a driveway where in Braden's mind he didn't belong. "Officer," Marcus said, planting his feet shoulder-width apart, his posture shifting instinctively into a modified position of attention. "I am standing on my own property. I am washing my own vehicle. You are currently aiming a loaded weapon at a retired United States Army infantryman. You are making a mistake that you will not be able to undo. I don't care who you are. Back up, interlace your fingers behind your head," Braden yelled, his voice cracking slightly. He was losing control of the situation before it had even really begun, but his training, or perhaps his lack of it, told him that volume and aggression were the only ways to regain dominance. The man standing by the Chevelle was not panicking. He wasn't crying. He wasn't begging for his life. Marcus Thorne was 54 years old. He had spent 26 of those years wearing the uniform of his country. He had led platoons through ambushes that lasted for days. He had earned the Silver Star for valor when he pulled 3 wounded men out of a burning Bradley fighting vehicle under heavy machine gun fire. He knew what a dangerous man looked like, and he knew what a scared boy looked like. Officer Braden was a scared boy with a gun. Before we go any further into this harrowing encounter, I need you to take a second. Pause and look at the situation. A man washing his car in broad daylight. An officer with a gun drawn. Drop a comment right now. Have you ever had a weapon pointed at you by someone who was supposed to protect you? Tell me where you're watching from, city, state, country. And if you believe that patriotism means holding our public servants accountable, smash that subscribe button. This story is about to expose a level of incompetence and bias that will make your blood boil. You need to see how this ends. Marcus watched the officer's eyes. They were wide, darting left and right. Tunnel vision. He's not processing information, Marcus thought. He's reacting to a script in his head. "Officer," Marcus tried again, lowering his volume to force the younger man to listen. "My name is Marcus Thorne. I own this home. The deed is on file at the county clerk's office. The registration for this vehicle is in the glove box and the keys are in my right front pocket. If you holster your weapon and de-escalate, we can resolve this like civilized men." "Shut up, I'm asking the questions here." Braden advanced up the driveway, encroaching on the curtilage of the home. "We have reports of suspicious activity in the area. A burglary in progress involving a suspect matching your description, stripping a high-end vehicle." Stripping a vehicle? Marcus looked down at the bucket of soapy water and the microfiber mitt on the ground. "Does it look like I'm stripping this car, officer? I'm waxing the quarter panel? This is a restoration project I've been working on for 6 years. "That's exactly what a thief would say to buy time," Braden snapped. "Now, for the last time, get on your knees." Marcus stiffened. He had bad knees from the jumps at Fort Benning and the rucks in Afghanistan. He wasn't getting on his knees for anyone but God. "I will not get on my knees," Marcus stated clearly. "I have not committed a crime. I am not under arrest. I am asserting my right to stand on my own property. If you want to detain me, you need reasonable, articulable suspicion that a crime has been, is being, or is about to be committed. Washing a car while black is not a crime in the penal code. Braden's face flushed a deep, angry red. He wasn't used to suspects citing the penal code. He wasn't used to suspects who didn't cower. This man's confidence felt like an insult to Braden's authority. It felt like resistance, and in Braden's world, resistance had to be crushed. "You're resisting," Braden shouted, holstering his gun, but immediately reaching for his taser. "You are failing to comply with a lawful order. An unlawful order requires no compliance," Marcus retorted, his eyes locking onto Braden's. "And if you deploy that taser on a man with a pacemaker condition, which I have due to service-connected injuries, you will be liable for excessive force and potential manslaughter. Do you want to take that gamble, son?" The word son hung in the air like a slap. Braden froze his hand on the yellow handle of the taser. The dynamic had shifted. This wasn't a cop catching a criminal. This was a veteran disciplining a recruit, and the recruit didn't know how to handle it. The standoff in the driveway had drawn an audience. In the manicured suburbs of this quiet town, shouting was rare. Shouting involving a police officer and a gun was unheard of. From the house across the street, Linda Miller, a retired school principal in her 60s, stepped out onto her porch. She knew Marcus. She knew he brought her garbage cans in when she was out of town. She knew he spent every Saturday working on that car. She pulled her smartphone from her apron pocket and hit record. "Officer," Linda shouted from across the street. "That is Mr. Thorne. He has lived there for 10 years. Put that weapon away." Officer Braden spun his head around, distracted. "Ma'am, get back inside. This is an active crime scene. Do not interfere." "There is no crime scene," Marcus said, seizing the moment of distraction to assert the facts. "There is only a homeowner and a trespasser. And right now, officer, the trespasser is you." Braden turned back to Marcus, his jaw tight. He felt the eyes of the neighborhood on him. He felt the camera lens from across the street. He had called this in as a burglary in progress, based on a hunch he had driven by seeing a black man working on a classic muscle car in a driveway that looked too expensive for him and assumed the worst. Now, backing down meant admitting he was profiling. It meant admitting he was wrong. And Officer Kyle Braden did not admit he was wrong. "I need to see some ID," Braden demanded, moving closer, his hand hovering near his belt. "Right now. Produce identification." "I am under no obligation to provide identification to you," Marcus replied, his voice maintaining that maddeningly even keel. "This is a consensual encounter, or it is a detention. Which is it?" "It's a detention. I'm investigating a felony." "Based on what specific facts?" Marcus pressed. "You said suspicious activity. Be specific. What behavior did you observe that constitutes a felony?" "You fit the description of a suspect." Braden lied. He was improvising now, digging the hole deeper. "Black male, heavy build, seen tampering with vehicles in this sector. That is a vague description that could apply to half the men in this county," Marcus said. "It does not meet the standard for reasonable suspicion required by Terry versus Ohio. You are fishing, officer, and you are fishing in waters that are going to drown you." "I'm not going to argue the law with you on the side of the road." Braden stepped into Marcus's personal space, violating the tactical gap. It was a rookie move. If Marcus had actually been a threat, he could have disarmed Braden in less than a second, but Marcus stood like a statue, his hands open and visible at his sides. "You're right," Marcus said. "We aren't going to argue. You are going to leave my property or you are going to arrest me. But if you arrest me, you better have your probable cause written in stone, because I assure you my lawyer will dismantle anything less." Braden sneered. "You think you're smart? You think because you know a few court cases you can intimidate me?" "I don't think I'm smart," Marcus said softly. "I know I'm a citizen with rights, and I know that you are violating them. Look around you, officer." Marcus nodded his head slightly toward the street. 2 more neighbors had come out. A man 2 doors down was also recording. A woman walking her dog had stopped and was watching intently. The eyes of the community were fixed on Officer Braden. "You're making a spectacle," Marcus noted. "You have no report of a stolen Chevelle. You have no report of a break-in at this specific address. You saw me, you made an assumption, and now you're too proud to walk away. That is a dangerous combination." "I'm checking the VIN," Braden announced, trying to regain control by shifting to a procedural task. He moved toward the car. "Step away from the vehicle." "The VIN is on the dashboard," Marcus said. "Feel free to read it." "It will come back to Marcus Aurelius Thorne. That is me." Braden leaned over the hood of the polished car, his utility belt scraping against the fender. Marcus flinched internally. That paint job had cost him $5,000, but he remained physically stoic. "Hey," Marcus barked sharply, "watch your belt on the paint." Braden whipped around. "Don't you tell me what to do. You're lucky I don't impound this thing right now." "For what?" Marcus asked. "For being too clean. For being the proceeds of criminal activity," Braden muttered, pulling out his radio. "Dispatch 1, Adam 1, 2, run a VIN." He read the numbers off the dash. He waited, glaring at Marcus. The radio crackled back. "1 Adam 12 vehicle comes back to a Thorne Marcus. No warrants. Status is clear." The silence that followed was deafening. The birds were chirping. The neighbors were watching. The radio had just confirmed exactly what Marcus had said. Braden held the radio, his knuckles white. He had the out. He could have said, "Apologies, sir, just doing my job," and walked away. It would have been humiliating, but it would have been over. But Braden looked at Marcus's face, a face that held no fear, only judgment. He looked at the neighbors recording him. He felt the heat of the shame rising in his neck. He couldn't leave, not like this. He needed a win. He needed to prove that his authority was absolute. "That doesn't prove you're Marcus Thorne," Braden said, a malicious glint entering his eyes. "You could have stolen the keys. You could have stolen the wallet with the ID. Until I verify your identity, you're still a suspect." Marcus shifted his weight. He didn't move his feet, but his upper body settled into a slightly more rigid posture. His hands clasped loosely behind his back parade rest. It was a habit ingrained in him since basic training in 1988. It was the stance of a soldier waiting for orders, a sign of discipline and patience. But to Officer Braden, whose training had been a mix of aggressive warrior cop seminars and panicked simulations, it looked different. "Stop doing that," Braden shouted, his hand dropping to his baton. "Stop doing what?" Marcus asked calmly. "You're blading your body. You're hiding your hands. Those are pre-assault indicators." Braden recited the terms he'd learned in the academy, like magic spells that justified escalation. "Show me your hands. Keep them out front." Marcus slowly brought his hands from behind his back to his sides, palms open. "I was standing at parade rest, officer. It is a military position of attention. I am a veteran. I am not blading. I am waiting for you to finish your investigation so I can go back to my Saturday." "You're being belligerent," Braden spat. "You're trying to confuse the situation with all this talk. I told you I need to verify your identity." "And I told you," Marcus countered. "The keys are in my pocket. If I press the button, the car unlocks. If I press the other button, the alarm sounds. A thief might have the keys, but would a thief offer to demonstrate the alarm in front of a police officer? Use your logic, son." "Don't call me son!" Braden screamed. He was unraveling. The logic was sound, and that was the problem. The suspect was making more sense than the officer. "You're refusing to identify yourself during a lawful detention. That is obstruction." "It is not obstruction to refuse a request that lacks legal standing," Marcus said, his voice dropping an octave, becoming gravelly and serious. "But I can see you aren't going to let this go. You need a win. You need to put me in handcuffs to feel like a man today." That's it. Braden snapped. He keyed his radio. Dispatch, I have a non-compliant subject. Requesting backup. You're calling backup for a man washing his car. Marcus shook his head, a look of profound disappointment crossing his face. What a waste of taxpayer money. I'm giving you one last chance, Braden said, stepping forward, unclipped his handcuffs from his belt. The metallic rattle of the cuffs was a sound Marcus knew well. He had used them on insurgents, on terrorists. He never thought they would be used on him in his own driveway. Turn around. Place your hands behind your back. You are under arrest. For what crime? Marcus asked, not moving. Obstruction of justice, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest. I can't resist an arrest that hasn't happened yet, Marcus pointed out. And I can't be arrested for obstruction if there was no underlying crime to obstruct. But you aren't listening. Turn around. Braden lunged forward, grabbing Marcus's left wrist. It was a clumsy grab. If this had been a combat situation, Marcus could have broken the boy's arm in 3 places before Braden realized what happened. Marcus's muscle memory flared the instinct to trap the limb pivot and strike, but his mind, sharpened by years of discipline, overrode the instinct. If I fight, I die, Marcus thought. He will shoot me and claim I went for his gun. I have to lose this battle to win the war. Marcus relaxed his muscles. He allowed the young officer to twist his arm behind his back. He didn't pull away. He didn't stiffen. I am complying, Marcus said loudly for the benefit of the neighbors' cameras. I am not resisting. I am allowing you to handcuff me. Do you hear me? Officer, I am submitting. Stop fighting me. Braden grunted, struggling with Marcus's sheer size. Marcus wasn't fighting. He was just big. His shoulders were broad, his arms thick with muscle built over decades of carrying rucksacks and lifting weights. Braden had to strain to pull the wrists together. I am not fighting, Marcus repeated calmly. You are struggling because you are incompetent. The cuffs clicked. First the left, then the right. The metal bit into the skin. Braden ratcheted them tight, too tight. You're hurting me, Marcus said. Check for spacing. That is standard procedure. Shut up, Braden panted. He shoved Marcus forward against the pristine red paint of the Chevelle. Marcus winced, not for himself, but for the car. You're in custody now. Now we'll see who's smart. From across the street, Linda was screaming. He lives there. You idiot. He lives there. Back up! Braden yelled at the neighbors, pulling his baton out, now brandishing it like a sword. Everyone stay back or you'll all be arrested for interference. He patted Marcus down roughly, reaching into the front pocket. He pulled out the keys. He pulled out the wallet. There, Braden said, holding up the wallet triumphantly. Was that so hard? Now we're going to see who you really are. He didn't open the wallet yet. He shoved it into his own pocket, grabbed Marcus by the arm, and began dragging him toward the patrol car. Officer, Marcus said, his voice low and deadly serious. You have just crossed the Rubicon. You have arrested a disabled veteran on his own property without probable cause. You have ignored exculpatory evidence. You have used excessive force. I hope you saved your money, son, because you are going to need a very good lawyer. The walk to the patrol car was only 50 feet, but it felt like a mile. Braden marched Marcus down the driveway past the beautiful rose bushes Marcus's wife had planted before she passed past the American flag hanging proudly by the front door. The irony was bitter on Marcus's tongue. He had fought for that flag. He had bled for it. And now a man wearing a badge authorized by that flag was treating him like an enemy combatant. The neighbors were shouting now, a chorus of outrage. This is shameful. We have you on video, officer. Let him go. Braden ignored them, or tried to. His face was pale sweat beading on his forehead despite the mild weather. He opened the back door of the cruiser and pushed Marcus's head down. Watch your head. Braden muttered a robotic adherence to protocol that felt ludicrous given the circumstances. Marcus slid into the hard plastic seat. The space was cramped. The handcuffs dug into his lumbar spine. He had shrapnel embedded near his L4 vertebrae from an IED blast in 2004. The pressure from the cuffs and the hard seat sent shooting pains down his legs. Marcus gritted his teeth but made no sound. He would not give this boy the satisfaction of hearing him groan. Braden slammed the door. The sound was final, a cage closing. Marcus sat in the back, the smell of stale coffee and industrial cleaner filling his nose. He closed his eyes and began to breathe. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Tactical breathing. It was how he kept his heart rate down when mortars were walking in. It was how he would keep his sanity now. He began to construct his after-action report in his head. Time of incident 1400 hours. Location, home of record. Subject Officer K. Braden. Violations, 4th Amendment, unlawful seizure, excessive force, failure to investigate manufacturing, probable cause. Witnesses, Mrs. Miller, Mr. Henderson. Evidence, Bodycam neighbor cell phone footage. Dispatch logs. Braden got into the driver's seat. He didn't look back at Marcus. He adjusted the rearview mirror, but his eyes avoided Marcus's reflection. He picked up the radio. Dispatch 1 in custody. Transporting to Central. Copy 1 in custody. Charges. Braden hesitated. He looked at the steering wheel. Pending, he said. Interference, disorderly resisting. Copy. He put the car in drive and pulled away from the curb. As they drove past the gathered neighbors, Marcus turned his head and looked directly at Mrs. Miller. He nodded once. A slow, deliberate nod. I am okay. Keep the tape. The ride to the station was silent. Usually officers would try to get a suspect to talk to incriminate themselves. Braden said nothing. The silence in the car was heavy with the weight of Braden's growing realization. The adrenaline was fading and the cold reality was setting in. He had arrested a man who claimed to be the homeowner whose car registration matched the name he gave and who the neighbors vouched for. Braden's mind raced. He was belligerent. He wouldn't show ID. That's obstruction. I have to stick to that. He was aggressive. He bladed his body. I feared for my safety. He rehearsed the lies he would write in his report. If he wrote it well enough, if he used the right buzzwords, officer safety, furtive movements, high crime area, the sergeant would sign off on it. They always did. In the back seat, Marcus opened his eyes. You're nervous, he stated. It wasn't a question. I'm not talking to you. Braden set his eyes on the road. You're shaking. I can see your hands on the wheel. You're wondering how you're going to explain this. You're wondering if you can make the charges stick. You're in a lot of trouble, pal, Braden said weakly. No, Marcus corrected him. I am inconvenienced. You are in trouble. There is a difference. You see, when we get to the station, you're going to have to book me. You're going to have to give my personal effects to the booking sergeant. And when he opens that wallet you shoved in your pocket, he is going to find something that is going to make your stomach drop out of your ass. Braden glanced in the mirror. What you got a get out of jail free card? Something like that. Marcus whispered. It's called a Geneva Convention Identification Card. Grade 05. Retired. And behind it is a laminate card with a citation on it. Do you know what a silver star is, Officer Braden? Braden didn't answer. It means I know more about violence than you will ever learn in your life, Marcus said. And it means I know more about discipline. You lack both. The cruiser pulled into the precinct sally port. The heavy metal gate rolled down behind them, sealing them inside. Braden turned off the engine. He took a deep breath, steeling himself. He had to see this through. He got out and opened the back door. Let's go. Watch your step. Marcus climbed out, his legs stiff. Braden grabbed his arm again, marching him toward the heavy steel door of the intake room. Inside, the air was cool and smelled of bleach. Face the wall, Braden ordered. Marcus faced the wall. He heard the door buzz open. They walked into the booking area. Behind the high desk sat Sergeant Frank Kowalski. He was 58 years old, a Vietnam-era Marine who had transitioned to policing in the 90s. He had gray hair cut high and tight and reading glasses perched on the end of his nose. He looked up as Braden wrestled Marcus toward the bench. "What do we got, Braden?" Kowalski asked, his voice gravelly and tired. "Disorderly obstruction resisting," Braden recited. Subject was belligerent, refused to identify, suspected auto theft, but, we're still clearing that. Kowalski looked at Marcus. He saw the size of him. He saw the way Marcus stood, feet apart, back straight, chin up. He saw the gray in Marcus's beard and the calm intelligence in his eyes. "Auto theft?" Kowalski asked, raising an eyebrow. "He looks like he's dressed for a barbecue, not a chop shop." "He was stripping a vehicle in a driveway," Braden said defensively. "Washing it, he said. But he wouldn't show ID." Kowalski sighed. He walked around the desk. "All right, uncuff him. Let's get him processed." "He's a flight risk," Braden said. "He's handcuffed in a police station, Braden. Take the damn cuffs off." Kowalski ordered. Braden fumbled with the key. The cuffs clicked open. Marcus brought his arms forward. He rubbed his wrists where the red welts were already rising. He looked at Sergeant Kowalski. "Semper Fi, Sergeant," Marcus said quietly. Kowalski froze. He looked at Marcus closely. "Hoorah," he replied instinctively. "You serve Army, Rangers, 75th Regiment," Marcus said. 26 years. Kowalski's eyes narrowed. He looked at Braden, who was pulling the contents of Marcus's pockets out onto the counter. The keys, the loose change, the wallet. "Braden," Kowalski said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Give me the wallet." The atmosphere in the booking room shifted instantly. It went from the routine boredom of administrative processing to the sharp electric tension of a fuse being lit. Officer Braden handed the leather wallet to Sergeant Kowalski, his hand trembling slightly. He sensed the change in the air but didn't understand the source. He was still clinging to the narrative that he was right, that he had caught a bad guy. Kowalski took the wallet. It was high-quality leather, worn smooth by years of use. He opened it. The first thing he saw was the driver's license. Marcus Aurelius Thorne. Address 1402 Oakwood Drive, the same address Braden had called in. "This is his current address?" Kowalski asked, looking up at Braden over his spectacles. Yeah, that's where the stop happened," Braden admitted. "So you arrested a man for auto theft, at his own house?" "He wouldn't identify himself. He was acting suspicious," Braden stammered. Kowalski didn't reply. He flipped the flap of the wallet. There, behind a clear plastic window, was the Blue Department of Defense ID card. RET, U.S. Army. Rank, Lieutenant Colonel. Lieutenant Colonel. Kowalski's jaw tightened. He pulled the card out. Behind it was another card, a laminated miniature copy of a citation. Silver Star, awarded to Captain Marcus Thorne. Operation Enduring Freedom. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action. Kowalski stopped reading. He closed the wallet slowly. He placed it gently on the counter. He looked at Marcus, then he looked at Braden. The look he gave the young officer was one of pure, unadulterated disgust. "Braden," Kowalski said softly, "do you know what this man is?" "He's a suspect," Braden insisted, though his voice was thin. "He is a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army." Kowalski roared the sudden volume, making Braden jump. "He is a Silver Star recipient. You arrested a goddamn war hero for washing his car on a Saturday afternoon." I didn't know," Braden stammered. He wouldn't tell me. He told you he lived there, Kowalski shouted. He told you the car was his. Did you check the registration? It matched, but I thought maybe he stole the plates. You thought, Kowalski threw his hands up. You didn't think you profiled, you saw a black man with a nice car, and you decided he was a criminal, and now you've dragged him in here in cuffs. Kowalski turned to Marcus. His demeanor changed instantly from rage to respect. He stood at attention. Colonel, Kowalski said, I apologize. This is a massive screw-up. Marcus looked at the sergeant. Sergeant, I want to be clear. I am not asking for special treatment because of my rank. I am asking for the same treatment any citizen deserves. But since we are here, I want to file a formal complaint, and I want to speak to the watch commander. Now. Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. Kowalski turned to the other officer in the room. Get the colonel a chair. Get him some water. Braden, get in the captain's office. Don't sit down. Stand in the corner and don't touch anything. Braden looked like he was about to vomit. Sarge, I followed protocol. Get out of my face before I rip that badge off your chest myself, Kowalski hissed. Braden scurried away toward the offices. Marcus sat down in the offered chair. He rubbed his wrists. The pain in his back was throbbing. Sir, do you need medical? Kowalski asked. We can call a bus. No, Marcus said. I need a record. I want photos of these wrists. I want the Bodycam footage pulled and secured before it gets accidentally deleted. Can you guarantee me that chain of custody, Sergeant? I'll pull the server logs myself, sir. Nothing goes missing on my watch. Good. Marcus leaned back. Then call your captain. I'll wait. 5 minutes later, the door to the inner office opened. Captain David Miller walked out. He was a tall man, early 50s, with the weary look of a man who spent too much time managing politics and not enough time doing police work. He held Marcus's wallet in his hand. He walked straight to Marcus. Colonel Thorne, Miller said, extending a hand. I'm Captain Miller. I served in the Gulf. 1st Cav. Marcus stood up slowly. He didn't shake the hand immediately. He looked at it, then looked at Miller's eyes. Captain, your officer pointed a loaded weapon at me in front of my neighbors. Miller slowly lowered his hand. I know. I just watched the first 5 minutes of the body cam. It's indefensible. He called me boy in so many words, Marcus said. He manufactured probable cause. He lied on the radio about a vehicle description. We are releasing you immediately, Miller said quickly. No charges. This arrest is voided. It never happened. Oh, it happened, Marcus said, his voice hard as steel. You can't unring this bell, Captain. I was handcuffed. I was placed in a cage. My neighbors saw it. My reputation is damaged. And my Fourth Amendment rights were shredded. I understand your anger, Miller said. We want to make this right. I can have an officer drive you home. I can have the car returned. I don't want to ride, Marcus said. I want that officer's badge. And I want to know why a man with that little discipline is on the street with a gun. There will be an investigation, Miller promised. Internal Affairs will handle it. I know how Internal Affairs works, Marcus said. They investigate themselves and find they did nothing wrong. No, Captain. This isn't going away in a file cabinet. What do you want, Colonel? I want my phone, Marcus said. I need to call my attorney, and then I'm going to call the local news station, because the only thing that cleans out rot is sunlight. Captain Miller's face went pale. He knew exactly what this meant. A decorated black veteran wrongfully arrested in his own driveway by a white rookie cop with video evidence. It was a PR nuclear bomb. Colonel, please, Miller said, lowering his voice. Let's discuss this in my office. We can work something out. I have nothing to discuss with you privately, Marcus said. Everything from this point on is on the record. Am I free to go? Yes, of course. Then return my property. Kowalski handed Marcus his wallet, his keys, and his phone. Marcus checked the items deliberately. He took his time. He put the wallet in his back pocket. "Officer Braden," Marcus said, looking toward the office where the young cop was hiding. "Is he still employed?" "He is on duty," Miller said stiffly. "For now," Marcus said. He turned and walked out of the station. He didn't look back. He stood on the sidewalk in front of the precinct. The sun was starting to set. He took a deep breath of the cool evening air. His hands were shaking slightly. The adrenaline dump was finally hitting him. He clenched his fists to stop the tremors. Focus, he told himself. Mission first. He pulled out his phone. He had 3 missed calls from Linda. He dialed her back. "Marcus, oh my God, are you okay? We saw them take you." Linda's voice was frantic. "I'm fine, Linda. I'm out. They released me." "I have it all, Marcus," she said. "I have the video. It shows everything. It shows you were just standing there." "Good," Marcus said. "Don't post it yet. Send it to me. And Linda, thank you. Are you coming home?" "Not yet. I have a stop to make." Marcus called a generic taxi service. He didn't want to use a rideshare app that tracked his location data for corporate use. When the cab arrived, he gave the address of a law firm downtown. It was Saturday evening, but he knew the partner. They had served on a veterans board together. James Sterling was a civil rights attorney who had made a fortune suing municipalities for exactly this kind of nonsense. He met Marcus at the door of his office wearing a polo shirt and jeans. "Marcus," Sterling said, looking at the red marks on Marcus's wrists. "Jesus, they actually cuffed you." "Tight," Marcus said. "Tell me you have video." "I have video. My neighbor has video. And the station has Bodycam, dashcam, and booking room audio." Sterling smiled a predatory grin that boded ill for the city budget. "Come inside. Let's pour a drink and destroy a career." They spent the next 3 hours drafting the initial notice of claim. Sterling watched the video Linda had sent. He watched it 3 times. "This is textbook," Sterling said, pausing the video where Braden screamed about pre-assault indicators. "He's citing training he doesn't understand. Blading. You were at parade rest. Any jury with half a brain will see that." "He was scared," Marcus said, swirling the ice in his glass. "That's the worst part. He wasn't evil. He was terrified of a black man. That fear is what makes him dangerous." "It's what makes him a liability," Sterling corrected. "And we are going to make him a very expensive one." By Monday morning, the machine was in motion. The lawsuit was filed. But more importantly, the video was released. It didn't just go to the local news. Sterling sent it to major national aggregators. The headline was simple: "Combat veteran arrested for washing car." The internet did the rest. By noon on Monday, the video had 2 million views. By Tuesday, it was 10 million. The comments section was a firestorm. Veterans were posting pictures of their DD-214s in solidarity. Civil rights groups were organizing protests outside the precinct. The hashtag Stand at Parade Rest was trending. In the video, viewers saw the contrast that Marcus had lived. They saw the calm, disciplined professional standing against the screaming, erratic amateur. They saw the moment Braden realized he was wrong and arrested Marcus anyway to save face. The police chief held a press conference on Wednesday. He looked tired. He announced that Officer Braden had been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. "Not good enough," a reporter shouted from the back. "Why wasn't he fired immediately?" "Due process," the chief muttered. But the public pressure was relentless. Digging began. Internet sleuths found Braden's old social media posts. They found complaints from other residents, all minorities who had been stopped by Braden for suspicious activity. A pattern emerged. Marcus sat at home watching the news coverage on his TV. He saw his own face on the screen. He saw his Chevelle. He felt a strange detachment. It wasn't about him anymore. It was about the system. The internal affairs investigation that usually took months was expedited to 2 weeks. The city manager demanded it. The mayor demanded it. The city was burning through political capital every hour Braden remained on the payroll. Captain Miller was called to testify. Sergeant Kowalski testified. They didn't protect Braden. The blue wall of silence crumbled under the weight of the undeniable video evidence and Marcus's unimpeachable character. Kowalski's testimony was particularly damaging. Officer Braden exhibited a lack of judgment that borders on delusion. Kowalski was quoted in the leaked report. He cannot distinguish between a threat and a citizen. He is unfit for duty. 3 weeks after the incident, Marcus received a call from the city attorney. Colonel Thorne, the attorney said, his voice dripping with conciliatory sweetness. We would like to discuss a settlement. I'm listening, Marcus said. We are prepared to offer $300,000 to settle all claims with no admission of liability. No, Marcus said. Colonel, that is a generous offer. It's not about the money, Marcus said. I want an admission of wrongdoing. I want a public apology from the chief, and I want Officer Braden's termination letter signed in public. We can't. We usually don't do apologies, the attorney stammered. Then I'll see you in court, Marcus said. And I'll wear my dress blues, and I'll bring my silver star, and you can explain to a jury why your officer assaulted me. He hung up. 2 days later, the offer changed. $850,000, a public apology, and confirmation that Officer Braden had been terminated for cause citing conduct unbecoming violation of civil rights and falsification of police reports. Marcus accepted. The day the settlement was announced, Marcus stood on the steps of City Hall. He wore a simple suit. The media was there in force. Do you feel justice was done? A reporter asked. Marcus looked at the microphones. Justice would be never having been handcuffed in the first place, he said. Justice would be Officer Braden having the training and the temperament to see a man not a monster. This isn't justice. This is accountability. There is a difference. What will you do with the money? Another reporter asked. I don't need it, Marcus said. My pension pays my bills. This money is blood money. It comes from the taxpayers, not the officer who wronged me. So I am returning it to the fight. He held up a check. I am donating the entire settlement to the Legal Defense Fund for veterans and the local NAACP chapter to ensure that the next man who gets stopped in his driveway has the resources to fight back. The crowd cheered, but Marcus didn't smile. He looked tired. Officer Braden was fired. The union didn't even fight it. The case was a loser, and they knew it. He lost his certification. He would never be a police officer in that state again. Rumor had it he moved back to his parents' house in Ohio working construction. But the story didn't end there. The Thorne rule was implemented in the department. It required a supervisor to be present on scene before any arrest for obstruction or resisting could be made if there was no underlying violent crime. It was a small change, but a vital one. 6 months later, Marcus was back in his driveway. It was another Saturday. The sun was shining. The Chevelle was parked in the same spot. He dipped his sponge into the soapy water. He wiped the fender. The motion was rhythmic, soothing. A police cruiser turned onto the street. Marcus froze. His heart hammered against his ribs, a physiological reaction he couldn't control despite his training. The trauma was there, buried deep in the reptilian brain. The cruiser slowed down. It was a new officer, a young woman. She rolled down the window. Marcus stiffened, gripping the sponge. Nice car, sir, she called out, smiling. 69? Marcus exhaled. Yes, ma'am. 69 SS. Beautiful, she said. She waved and drove on. Marcus watched her go. He watched the car disappear around the bend. He looked at his hands. They were trembling again. He realized then that something had been taken from him that the $850,000 couldn't buy back. The peace, the sense of safety in his own sanctuary. It was gone. He was a combat veteran who had survived wars abroad only to find that the battlefield had followed him home. He went back to washing the car, but he kept looking over his shoulder. This story matters because Marcus Thorne did everything right. He served his country. He bought a home. He followed the law. He remained calm, and it still wasn't enough to protect him from the bias of a man with a badge. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a lieutenant colonel with a silver star isn't safe in his own driveway, who is, if the right way to behave doesn't save you, what will? We tell these stories not to make you hate the police, but to make you demand better from them, because authority without accountability is just tyranny with a badge. Thanks for reading this story. It's a hard one, but it's a necessary one. What would you have done in Marcus's place? Would you have been able to stay that calm? Drop a comment below with your thoughts. And if you believe in justice for our veterans and accountability for our officers, share this story. Let's keep the light on. Let's keep the...